Welcome to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. And now, your host, Tim Johnson.
With over 100,000 plus readers, BIC Magazine is the Western Hemisphere's largest multi-industry, multi-departmental energy publication. BIC Magazine targets key decision makers in upstream, midstream, and downstream energy sectors. The BIC Alliance includes BIC Recruiting, BIC Media Solutions, and IVS Investment Banking. Earl Heard, owner, founder, and publisher of the BIC Alliance, joins us when we return on the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
The Louisiana Business and Industry Show will be back right after this.
Hi, I'm Joe Martin, president of ITI Technical College. Do you want a better life?
Get your associate's degree in occupational studies in information technology from ITI. In 2 years, you'll be on your way to a better life. You will get hands-on specialized training in computers, hardware and software, networking, and more. ITI offers flexible class schedules, and financial aid is available to those who qualify.
So don't wait. Call ITI now or go online. It's that simple.
ITI for a better life.
I'm Leighton Ricks, Livingston Parish, and Livingston Parish is on the move. One of the primary things that we ran on was developing business and jobs in Livingston Parish for our people so that we can bring obviously additional revenue to be able to support our infrastructure needs. We're going to continue to progress here in Livingston Parish. When everybody comes together, these kind of things happen. I mean, what can you say? It's absolutely awesome. It's the perfect place to be. It's where you want to be today, I can guarantee you that.
Hi, I'm Lee Burkeen with Louisiana Football TV Magazine. Be sure to watch our show every week where we have big-time recruits, college coaches, NFL players, current and former players, and call-ins with your questions. Be sure to catch us every Tuesday night at 6:30 live and 10:30 replayed on Cox 4 in Baton Rouge.
Insurance commercials have become unusually funny. We think that's strange because we take auto coverage pretty seriously at Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Of course, when you cover as many vehicles in Louisiana as we do, it doesn't leave a lot of time for silly gimmicks. We're more concerned about what happens to you on the road than any chickens that happen to cross it just to make you chuckle. Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Real service, real people.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show with Tim Johnson.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. It's my great pleasure to be joined by my friend Earl Heard. Earl is the owner, founder, and publisher of the BIC Alliance. Earl, welcome to the show, buddy.
Glad to be here, Tim. Thank you for the invitation.
Glad you are. Let's talk about the BIC Alliance. We're going to talk about your anniversary, a milestone in your business a little bit later, but BIC Magazine really is the flagship, I guess, of what you do, but it's not the only product that's part of the BIC Alliance. So tell us about the various companies that make up your organization.
Okay. Well, the BIC Magazine is about 60% of our business, and we have about 350 industrial service companies that use it like a big third-party newsletter. And but we also have 3 other companies that we promote through the publication. One is an investment banking company for energy-related companies. The other is C-level executive recruiting, BIC Recruiting, and then we have BIC Media, where we do events and do media investments and partnerships.
The organization now, we're going to talk in more detail about each one of the individual parts of the BIC Alliance, but the company as a whole now is 30 years old, celebrating your 30th anniversary. So let's talk about the history. I know it started with the magazine, right? So go back, take us back 30 years. What was Earl Heard doing? What was your idea? And tell us a little bit about the process that led us to where we are today.
Well, it's an interesting story. I was a training manager for Ethel Corporation, and I got interested in producing training movies for the oil industry. So I went to New York and learned how to produce training movies, and I started producing them. So I decided to go into business, and I got into business, and I did a lot of advertising, but the only people that ever called me was people wanting to sell me ads. So I got aggravated, and I started a newsletter to drive the video company. Well, the video company went busted, but the newsletter became a magazine. So I published the first training magazine in the petroleum industry, and then that evolved into BIC magazine, which I've been doing 30 years.
30 years old, and so it started really to promote another business,
Right.
and really is what caught on when the video business didn't necessarily take off. So, well, let's talk specifically about the magazine now, the size of the publication. Talk about where you started, how big it was in your first publication, and what it looks like today.
Well, when I first started, I was quarterly, and I actually have always owned or been partners with people who had other magazines, mostly lifestyle. But I started off quarterly, and then we became like this third-party newsletter, and companies started wanting to sponsor the covers, and so we grew to 6 times a year, and then 12. We ended up with being 10, and I think our first printing was about 3,000, 5,000, and now we're printing about 35,000, got about 100,000 readers on our online and digital globally.
It's amazing to see where it's coming. It really has become sort of the Bible of the energy industry along the Gulf Coast, particularly Texas and Louisiana. So you've got this pretty big distribution now, but one of the things you've talked about is the magazine's multi-industry, multi-departmental approach. And we talk about upstream, midstream, downstream. Explain to our viewers what you mean by that, Earl.
I'm glad you asked that, because I spoke to a lady who had been in the energy business for over 25 years, and she didn't really understand upstream, midstream, and downstream. But upstream in the petroleum industry would be like drilling and exploration, looking for oil and bringing it up out of the ground. And then you've got midstream, and that's transportation. It could be maritime, it could be pipelines, and now there's a lot of rail hauling crude. And then downstream would be anything in a fence line. It would be terminals, refineries, petrochemical plants. And so when we say multi-industry, we hit everything from the wellhead to the consumer. But
it really is a unique approach, because if you look at most publications, they'll focus on one part of the industry, and you really kind of cover it all. So when people talk to you about the magazine specifically, and they say, what is the mission? What is it that you hope to accomplish with each edition of the magazine? What do you say?
Our specific mission is to connect who's who in business and industry with one another and their suppliers for the betterment of all. So we run a lot of community relations, benevolent type stuff. It's kind of like, it's been called the people magazine of the energy sector.
Yeah, and it really is interesting to look at it and to see it. And you talked about its initial publication over 30 years ago. To what degree has the magazine evolved since that time? Obviously, it's much bigger, it's filled with much more information, but in terms of its evolution from where you started to where you are today, what's the biggest change?
Content's king, and it's so popular because for people in the I can remember when I was at Ethel Corporation, I could look over there at Exxon, and I didn't know anything other than I got my ethylene from there, and if we had a problem, then they had a problem. But now it's a way where somebody in the industry can not only learn what's going on in their other locations, but in other industries. They all related to one another. And it's departmental, interdepartmental too. There's about 15 different departments, everything from purchasing to maintenance, construction.
A lot of safety.
Oh yeah.
A lot of safety.
Yeah. And so you can learn not only what's going on with your peers in your sector, but the others as well.
Kind of
so
give
it's a
you
resource.
a global approach to it. Yeah, we got about a minute left in this segment, Earl, so let's talk quickly about BICmagazine.com.
Well, that was our Achilles heel all the time. When print, we're by far the largest in North America. But the digital now, they used to say the best friend you can have in business is somebody buys ink by the barrel, but that's not quite right now. You've got to have the ink but you've also got to have that digital presence. And so that's where we've invested a lot of money and a lot of time. KFX Square here in Baton Rouge did it for us, and Brady Porsche, who was my editor for about 10 years with my books, is our digital editor.
And can you find most of the content that's on the magazine on the online version as well?
Well, it's not exactly the same, but if you go to bicmagazine.com, you can also read the digital version. So you've got up-to-date information, plus everything that's on the magazine.
And if you want to know what's going on in the energy sector, BIC Magazine and bicmagazine.com are the way to go. We're going to take a break. We come back. I want to talk about some of the other companies that make up the BIC Alliance, and maybe a little bit later about your outlook on all this growth that we're seeing.
Okay.
We're visiting with Earl Heard. He's the owner, founder, and publisher of BIC Alliance, and you're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show on Cox Sports.
The Louisiana Business and Industry Show will be back right after this.
I go to work every day, and I love doing what I'm doing, and I love being a part of Livingston Parish, and to be elected sheriff, to be able to lead Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office is just such an honor for me. And so I'm very excited about not only where we're at today, but where we're going to be at in the future. The parish is so special to the citizens. They work with the Sheriff's Office, they trust the Sheriff's Office. Our community stands behind us 100%, and they get involved. They don't want crime in Livingston Parish.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from the Grand Slam hitter to grandparents. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Hello, I'm Eric Edwards with the Livingston Parish Convention and Visitors Bureau. Find out now what's going on in Livingston Parish. We have over 400 nautical miles of waterways. Tee it up at our great world-renowned golf courses. Shop at our antique districts, or come to Bass Pro, our #1 retailer. There's a lot to do in Livingston Parish that you never imagined. It's all happening right here in Livingston Parish. For more information, go online at visitlivingstonparish.com.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from the three-point shooter to the three-piece suit. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show with Tim Johnson.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. We're visiting with Earl Heard. He's the owner, founder, and publisher of BIC Alliance and BIC Magazine. And Earl, we talked in the first segment about the 30 years of BIC Magazine and how it got started and really how it's grown and really become sort of the Bible of the energy industry along the Gulf Coast. But we talked during the break about networking. And BIC, and I think this is important for people to know, is that BIC stands for Business and Industry Connection. So networking is a critical part of what you try to do within your organization. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, networking is defined as getting together to get ahead. And recently I was introduced as the person who invented social media before there was a computer.
Before it was cool, right?
So basically what we do is we're in about 40 major events in the energy sector, but we also host networking events. Sometimes they'll have 1,000, 1,200 people, and the whole purpose is to introduce people from different industries with one another and the suppliers that make our publication possible.
You know, one of the interesting things that I look for in every edition of BIC magazine is BIC attends, right? Yeah. And so everyone wants to see their own picture. And if you attend any kind of conference or convention or anything that has to do with the energy sector, pretty much anywhere along the Gulf Coast and other places in the United States, BIC is going to be there, and BIC is going to be taking pictures. And you guys publish pages and pages of pictures with captions and connecting people and who they are, right?
The magic number is 200. It's interesting you'd mentioned that. I heard years ago that if there was a wedding or a funeral, about 200 people would know about it. And so I make it a policy years ago to never have a magazine that comes out with less than 200 people, so that If you look at that magazine and you don't know somebody in that industry, you're not active enough in it yourself.
There you go. So you might want to change what you're doing, that old 6 degree of separation thing. In the open, we mentioned that BIC Alliance is more than just the magazine, right? You have BIC Recruiting, BIC Media Solutions, and IVS Investment Banking. Let's talk about those briefly and individually. Let's start with BIC Recruiting. What do you try to do
Well,
there?
BIC Recruiting came about first. Years ago, a gentleman called me, and I really thought he was wanting to run a classified ad for help wanted, but he said, no, I'd rather you do some recruiting for me. I said, well, what does a recruiter get paid, you know? And he told me, so I said, well, I can do that. And so I got
make some money from it, right?
business. So I've been in the recruiting business for over 15 years, and now we recruit for about 30 companies. And so I think we placed over 50 people last year. I have 4 full-time recruiters in Houston, and it's a big, big business, particularly C-level executives. And of course, we like to place C-level executives because they can buy companies, and we like to place sales and marketing people because they can buy advertising.
There you go. Right? There's always a way to network there as well. Let's talk about BIC Media Solutions. What's that company all about?
Well, that started in 2005, and I used to do a lot of speaking. My passion is training people, and at any given time in BIC, we have at least 4 to 6 articles on career development and career enhancement. But I started publishing books. I learned about publishing books from Dr. Joseph Jacobs years ago. Formed Jacobs Engineering. He had written a book called Anatomy of an Entrepreneur. So I started publishing books, and then other people started asking me about doing theirs. So I've done 9 now. I did the Turner Industry 50th anniversary book, and now I've done them on sports.
Sports
everything.
Legends of Louisiana,
Earl's Pearls.
Yeah. What was the one that you did? It's What We Do Together that counts?
Yeah, that was that was one that I really wanted to write because it showed how, it's our story, and it kind of shows how if you're not real smart, you need to be nice, you know, work real hard, and it was basically about overcoming adversity, and it's been a book that's been used as a guide for many entrepreneurs.
Got about 2 minutes left in this segment, Earl. I want to make sure that we talk about the investment banking part of the BIC Alliance because it's becoming a larger and larger part of what you do, and it has played a critical role in helping industry to grow and companies to grow. And so talk a little bit about IVS Investment Banking. What do you guys do there?
Well, I appreciate that because there's 3 ways to grow a company. You can do it through marketing, you can do it through having strong people, and you can do it through acquisitions and mergers. And we've done, in the last 15 years, we've done actually since 2008, we've done 13 transactions for over $250 million. We're about to close.
Say that again, 13 transactions over $250 million. That's significant.
And a lot of it's in Louisiana. We've sold companies in Louisiana in Spain. We've done terminals. We've done Total Safety's acquired 3 of their, I think, 18 companies that they bought were from us. And the 2 that we've got that are in transaction that both involve Louisiana companies right now.
It really has become a critical part of what you're doing, connecting those businesses that might need capital or those individuals who might be looking to acquire a company with the resources they need to get the job done. How long has that company been in existence now?
Well, I did my first transaction in 1997, but since John Zappalak joined me, of course Thomas, my son-in-law, he was an acquisition attorney.
Thomas Brinsko, very important part of
the
BIC
he runs
Alliance,
all my companies except BIC Media, and he was an acquisition attorney for Exxon Offshore. So we've kind of become the company to go to for anybody under 50 million.
It really
We've done
is.
some over 50, but typically that's our sweet spot.
Good stuff. So the BIC Alliance is BIC Magazine, BIC Recruiting, BIC Media Solutions, and IVS Investment Banking, and all of those companies information can be found out about them on your website, right?
BICmagazine.com.
We're going to take a break. We come back. I want to get into something that I know is very near and dear to your heart, and that's this boot campaign that you've been working very closely on. We'll talk about that when we come back from break. We're visiting with Earl Heard. He's the owner, founder, and publisher, BIC Alliance, and you're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show on Cox 4.
The Louisiana Business and Industry Show will be back right after this.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from the Grand Slam hitter to grandparents. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Hi, I'm Lieber Keane with Louisiana Football TV Magazine. Be sure to watch our show every week when we have big-time recruits, college coaches, NFL players, current and former players, and call-ins with your questions. Be sure to catch us every Tuesday night at 6:30 live and 10:30 replayed on Cox 4 in Baton Rouge.
Hello, I'm Eric Edwards with the Livingston Parish Convention and Visitors Bureau. Find out now what's going on in Livingston Parish. We have over 400 nautical miles of waterways. Tee it up at our great world-renowned golf courses. Shop at our antique districts, or come to Bass Pro, our #1 retailer. There's a lot to do in Livingston Parish that you never imagined. It's all happening right here in Livingston Parish. For more information, go online at visitlivingstonparish.com.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from the soccer star to the soccer mom. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Insurance commercials have become unusually funny. We think that's strange because we take auto coverage pretty seriously at Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Of course, when you cover as many vehicles in Louisiana as we do, it doesn't leave a lot of time for silly gimmicks. We're more concerned about what happens to you on the road than any chickens that happen to cross it just to make you chuckle. Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Real service, real people.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from long drivers to unlucky drivers. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show with Tim Johnson.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. We're visiting with my good friend Earl Heard, who is the owner, founder, publisher, CEO, man of BIC Alliance, does a great job and has for 30 years. Earl, during the break, you and I were talking about the significant growth that's coming to the Gulf Coast. The oil and gas, low natural gas prices really driving economic development in the petrochemical refining sector, gas to liquid sector, probably more than you and I have ever seen in our lifetimes. What's your perspective on all the growth that we're seeing and we will see over the next few years?
Tim, I was around when they were building the Texaco refinery down at the Sunshine Bridge, and the Tidewater built paper mill up
what
at
is
St. Francis.
Motiva Convent now, right?
So I would say that this is the biggest area of expansion, time of expansion, not just in Louisiana, but along 225 in Houston, throughout the Gulf Coast, but all across the country. It's the biggest I've ever seen in over 50 years, and between Louisiana and Texas, it's the biggest. I think it's 150, 160 billion. About a third of that, I think, is in Louisiana.
It's going to be tremendous, and it's a good time to be in the position you're in with the information source that you provide and all the other services that the BIC Alliance has. It's going to create a lot of opportunities for a lot of people. And one of the things you're very involved in is preparing and providing opportunity for our returning veterans. And you're involved in an organization called the Boot Campaign. Tell us about the Boot Campaign, some of the videos and things that you've done, and why this movement is so important to you personally.
Well, my family, both my father and my wife's father, were both in World War II. My father-in-law caught a lot of combat in the South Pacific, and so we've always had a passion for helping returning veterans. But there's so many of these guys. Like, we know of people that can't get a $9 an hour job, and they've been out protecting our country. So
something like
it's a passion for me.
250 unemployed veterans in the United States, which is a travesty.
Yeah, So we partnered with the Lone Survivor Foundation and the boot campaign, and basically the boot campaign is just to get people to wear boots to show their support for our veterans. But we're taking it a step further, and we're getting involved in helping these people find jobs in the energy sector. And there's some companies, well, I think you work with NCCER. That's
right.
one that's really working with us. But that put me over in the movie business of all things, because the Lone Survivor,
videos, right?
yeah. I took Launch Media. They went to Dallas with me, and we sponsored a big fundraiser up there for the boot campaign. Marcus Luttrell with the Lone Survivor was there, and it was so successful. We did veterans appreciation events here in Baton Rouge and in Pasadena, along with Scene Magazine, which we're partners with them. But the whole idea, we actually had people with resumes come there, and we introduced them personally to people in the industry at those events.
So it's a one-on-one connection, and it's a wonderful thing that you're doing and that you're part of. And I know it means a lot to you personally. And as you said, kind of gotten you in the movie business a little bit too.
Yeah, I had a call 2 days ago for a guy in the oil and gas business that wants us to help raise $8 million for what's called P&A, print and advertising, to promote a movie that he's already put about $18 million in. So that's the next step for us.
There's no limit to what Earl Heard might get involved in, right? Let me ask you another question. And I asked you this when you were on the radio show a few weeks ago, and I think it's an important thing for maybe our viewers to learn from. People who might be thinking about getting into business or starting out into business. Here's a guy, Earl Heard, 30 years now, been very successful. What's the most important thing you've learned?
My faith. I'm a born-again Christian. The Lord, I feel like everything that's happened to me, the Lord made happen. And I've found that you can't, this is whether it's an entrepreneur or an individual. I really built my business with people starting out or starting over. Somebody may be getting out of school, nobody will give them a job, or they may be going through a divorce or addiction or something. I couldn't afford to pay top dollar anyway, so I relied on my training. And that's the way I built my business, and not looking back. I mean, you can't help what's happened in the past, just move forward. Work hard. We work half a day at BIC, any 12 hours you want.
Pick the 12 you want. I love that saying. You talk about that all the time. 30 seconds left. How can our viewers get more information about BIC and all the great things you guys are doing? Well, if they just go to bicmagazine.com, and it'll take you there. You can, from there, and you can go to scenelouisiana.com. That's a $1 billion industry that we're involved in with the film industry. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Earl Heard, thanks for your time.
Thank you,
today,
and God
buddy.
bless you.
Appreciate you being with us. Thanks for all the good work you do. I look forward to our relationship. That's a wrap, guys. Thanks for joining us. Tune in next week at this very same time for another edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show on Cox Sports.